Hi everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are canning again. You can see I got my big old broth out here, and we're just going to be canning red kidney beans, and I'm doing them in pints. So let me give you a rundown. I'm not really hot packing. Everything's a little warm. I had 2 bones from 2 pork shoulders in the freezer. I want to make pinto beans and cornbread tonight for dinner, so I boiled them down this morning, and it's still a little warm. You might see a little steam coming off there. I just wanted the flavor that I'm going to use this stock, pork stock, to flavor my beans, so they're not just in plain water. I've got the canner on over here. It's a little warm. I put the about 4 quarts of water in here. All canners are different. 4 quarts brought it up to the line in my Presto canner. That's how high you're supposed to have it. And I've got my jar lids over here in hot water. They say you don't have to do that anymore, but I'm a creature of habit. I'm still doing it. And then I got all of my rings up here. I've already washed my jars. These are brand new jars, so I washed them real well and sterilized them. I did it by hand. That way when I went through and tried them, I could check and make sure that there were no cracks, anything like that. You always want to go through and make sure you don't have any chips in the top, any indentations, because you're not going to get a good seal. And make sure there's no hairline fractures in the glass at all, because you have a chance of them exploding in the canner and you're losing your product then. So I'm basically kind of warm packing. I'm not cold packing. I'm kind of warm packing. Now, always follow the National Center for Home Food Preservation. As you guys know, I'm always going to put it down here in the first comment, and I'm going to tag that. I'm going to put it in the description, and I'm going to put it on my website where you can print out the recipes and the procedure for all this. Everybody does canning differently. My mom cans totally different than I can. I grew up with her canning. She's been pressure canning almost everything. She said she water bathed something one time and it didn't come out real well. So she just likes to pressure can. Even her jellies and pickles and things. But I'm pressure canning these. I'm going to do pints. And for pints, for dry beans, it's 75 minutes. For quarts, it's 90 minutes. And when you fill the jars, you want to leave about a 1 inch headspace. Now for pints, I use about a 1/2 cup, just a little bit less than a 1/2 cup. For quarts, I use a little bit less than a cup of dry beans. To show you what I mean, these are pinto beans that I did last week. And you see there is still some water fluid at the top. If I use a whole cup on dry beans, because I'm using totally dry beans, they haven't soaked overnight or anything, there's a chance that you're just going to swell up and absorb all the moisture. Well, that's not a bad thing. I have my black-eyed peas that I did it that way. I did a 1/2 cup in the pint jars, and there's hardly any water in them at all. They still taste great. They still preserve perfectly fine. For me, that's the way I do it. I know the center doesn't have any protocols for totally dry beans, not soaking them, but it's always worked for me and my family, so that's what we do. So I got everything here ready. I'm going to put about, and I washed these beans and sorted them, so I'm going to put just a little bit less than 1/2 cup in each of the pints. This goes really quick. And I'm just putting up, in fact, it's funny because my mom even asked me, why are you canning beans? Because, I mean, my whole family grew up on mom's side in the Appalachian Mountains. We had cornbread and beans. We always did everything from dried beans, soak them overnight, let them cook all day. But if you think about it, I'm down here in South Florida currently, and if a hurricane comes through and I have no electricity, and I'm having to cook with propane on the grill or another device, I've got limited power. So I don't want to waste all of that boiling my beans all day long to cook them in any product that I'm going to be making. So doing it this way, they're already cooked. All you're having to do basically is reheat them, season them, and you're good to go. So that's why I like doing the beans. And I also do my meat that way too. So instead of wasting all that gas, propane, electric, whatever your generator you're using, then you don't have to cook these long. So I had I think it was a 4.5 pound bag. I'm not sure where the bag went. Actually, there it is. Let me see. Actually, it's a 4 pound bag. So this is already filled 16 jars, and that's what my canner holds. I've still got about almost half of it left. So I'm going to do another canning session after this and do the other 16 jars. So I'll have these on the shelf. So now I'm going to put, and this is totally optional, you don't have to. I like to put about half a teaspoon of salt, and I'm using pink Himalayan salt. I don't ever use anything that's iodinized. Use canning salt or pink Himalayan or kosher salt is always best. But like I said, this is just the way I do it, giving you an idea. A lot of people have been asking me to put more videos up on canning because they're trying to learn, but always go to the National Center for Home Food Preservation. And you can even print out their book. They have a PDF version of it. I bought it in a Kindle version, so I have it on my iPad. But you can print it out for free and have it on hand. Gives you all the instructions on beans, tomatoes, fruits, jellies. It has everything in it. And that's what you need to go by. So don't go by what I do or what I say, because I may say it wrong. Always check first. Okay, so got all that filled, salting everybody. So now let's just start filling with our broth. Like I said, it's still just a little bit warm. I'm going to show you, hold this up so you can see. We're going to take it up, and it's about an inch at that first line. Now some of the debubblers have the marks on it. I don't have one of those. I don't use that. I just use this, and see it's about an inch. So I'm going to go through and fill the rest of these, and I'll be back. All right, I've got the last jar filled here to about an inch of headspace. And I'm gonna go through and debubble. We wanna get the air out from in between the beans. That might make the headspace go down a little, or water level go down a little bit, so we may need to add a little bit more. I see a few that do need that. I keep seeing these floaters and I always wanna take them out, because I can remember one time canning with my grandma, I saw beans floating and she took them out. I said, why are you taking those out? Because that's the ones the bugs have been into and they got air in there. She took them out. But I get floating beans all the time, even fresh ones. So I want to take them out, but pop them down in there, they go back down. So let's see, some of these just need a little bit more in there to bring them up. And you want to make sure you get enough in there, because if not, when the beans expand, they're going to absorb it, and then you will lose a lot of the liquid if you like liquid on yours. Just eyeball it and see most of them that are the same level. There we go. They all look good. All right. So I can put this aside. And now I'm going to get some paper towels. I like to use paper towels instead of a regular towel, no lint. And I've got vinegar in here. You're going to wipe down your jars. I wipe down all my jars, but especially do it if you do anything with meat or oily products such as this. You can see some oil floating on top because I boiled down those pork bones and they have fat on them. And you don't want that left on top because you may not get a good seal. Now, like I said, this is kind of warm packing, I call it. It's not hot pack or cold pack. I did make sure that the water temperature is about the same as the broth that I'm using. That way it doesn't shock it, and also get some siphoning when you put it in there, or take a chance of breaking the glass if it's different temperatures. And I like to bring the pressure canner up slowly. If you bring it up too fast, you could get the siphoning and liquid coming out of the jars. You don't want that. And then when I get done, I like to let it sit. After it is depressurized, I crack the lid and let it sit for like 10-15 minutes, just to make sure I'm not shocking the jars and making more siphoning. missed that one. All right, so now all of the jars are wiped down and ready to go into the water bath. Well, not water bath, pressure canner. Let's get the lids out. Oops, got some oil on these. Where's my paper towels I just had? Forgot I debubbled with this, and there's oil on that. That shows that we needed to do those lids. Or rims. I've gotten lucky. Everybody's saying that they can't find jars. I couldn't for a while, but all of a sudden, every time I go to Walmart or even Publix, I've been finding jars, and of course I'm grabbing them because I am using every one of them that I get. Because with all the crazy stuff going on right now, y'all need to be canning. Even if you need to pre-stock in your pantry, whether it's canning your own, going and buying canned goods. You never know when maybe a week or two can't get something. Remember this thing we just went through in 2020 and shelves were empty and bare? This way you know you have food that's healthy for your family and you don't have to worry about it. There we go. Get that last one out of there. You don't want to play. And you don't have to sterilize your jars anymore. Since water bath, if you do it for 10 minutes, or the pressure canner, they say you don't need to sterilize the jars. I only do it when I first buy them. That way I know that they're clean because they came from the factory. So you can either run them through the dishwasher or do them by hand. I did mine by hand. So they're all done. And you're just gonna put these lids on finger tight without knocking all the hoses off. Well, the ring's on finger tight. The lids are just laying there. Just ring down. I do not know how my mom, my great-grandmother, my aunt, how they did all this. They do 600 jars of green beans a year. My mama did one time. I'm exhausted after doing 2 pressure canners full today, and that's just going to be like 32 pints. But that's the way it was back then. Well, still is for my mom. Okay, everybody's finger tight. Let's go back through and check. Don't want to tighten them down too much because you want some of that air to bubble out. So we get a good seal. So I'm going to put the extra vinegar that I did not use into my canner. That keeps the white hard water stains off of the jars, so your jars look a lot nicer. And since these are not hot, I'm just going to set them in with my hand. I don't need to use my jar lifter. I'll do that when they're hot. Like I said, I get 8 in here, and then I have a rack from my other pressure canner that I put in on top of that and stack the next one. There we go. How do I have an extra? 2, 4, 6, 7. Let's spread these out. There we go. So I have all 8 in here. I have my water. Check your canner to make sure how much water you're supposed to put in. Mine has a line in here, and it takes about 4 quarts to get up to that line. It's kind of warm, and the liquid's kind of warm, so I call it warm packing. And then for those of you starting, always make sure you check your seal. Make sure it's no cracks and it's good, that you can see through the pressure relief. Yep, I can see through it. And make sure that this is able to go up and down. And then line it up. Mine has 2 lines here, so I can line it up. Bring it together. I always turn my canner this way because I'm going to be over here working, so I can keep an eye on it. I'm going to turn this on my stove about 8. I don't want to put it on high because I want to bring it up a little bit slow. And I'm going to bring it up to pressure. Up to temperature, you're going to see steaming come out. Usually this will pop up. during that, but sometimes it takes a little longer. But once you have steam coming out, steady stream of steam for 10 minutes, once you have a steady stream of steam coming out, then you set it for your timer for 10 minutes. You want it to steam continuously for 10 minutes. So not when you see the first little sputters. Wait till it's a continuous stream. You're going to do that for 10 minutes. Once it's done steaming for 10 minutes and letting out all that air, we're going to put it on the regulator. Oh, here it is. Put it on a regulator, and we're going to then bring it up to pressure. I'm doing mine at 11 pounds because I have a dial gauge. So, and I'm at sea level. I'm actually 9 feet above sea level here in Fort Lauderdale. So I'm going to bring it up to 11, and then I'll cook it for 75 minutes for pints. If I was doing quarts, I'd do it for 90 minutes. So once this gets up to pressure and steamed and everything, I'll bring you back. It'll just be a second for you. It's going to be about 30, 45 minutes for me. See you in a little bit. Okay, everybody, we're back. Genie has been coming out of the bottle, as I call it, for the last almost 10 minutes. I got about 35 seconds left. If you guys don't know who Genie is, you have to know who Genie is. I see the people watching my channel. Y'all know who Genie is. So Genie's been coming out for 10 minutes. And once that 10 minutes is up, I'm going to put the regular pressure valve, pressure weight on it. And I'm going to bring it up to pressure, which for me at sea level is 11 pounds of pressure. And I'm going to get it to there and cook it at that point for 75 minutes. So if it takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get up to that pressure, that doesn't count. We got to start once it hits that pressure. And you want to keep it at that pressure. There's our 10 minutes. And I'm going to put the pressure gauge on. There we go. I'm going to watch this. I'm going to get it up to about 10, and then I'm going to reduce my heat just a little bit because it's going to keep going. And you have to play with it a while to get the right pressure or right setting on your stove. My sweet spot's about 3, a little bit past 3, between 3 and 4, closer to 3 when I have a full canner of pint jars. So as you can see, it's already starting to go up. It's up to almost 5 already. No, 3 already. So I'm going to get it up to 11, keep it there for 75 minutes, and then I'll bring you back and show you what it all came out. See you in a little bit. Okay, we're back. I let all the pressure out. After the 75 minutes, I let the pressure release naturally, of course. The pressure valve here pop was down, and then I took off the weight. I let it sit for about 10 minutes after I did that. I don't like a lot of siphoning. I don't want to lose any of the fluid inside and siphon out. I found if you let it sit for a while, let the temperature come down, everything works out real well. So then after about 10, 15 minutes, I loosened the lid. I just tilted it away from me a little bit, let a little steam out, left the lid on there. I actually left it on there for another 20 minutes. I let it sit for 20 minutes. Then I took the lid off and let it sit here for about another 15 minutes until I couldn't hear, I heard popping already. The lids were sealing. I heard no siphoning. So once I felt that it was good to take it out, it had been long enough. So probably from the time that it depressurized, probably about an hour sitting here on the stove. And I did move it over here to a cold burner. So the last 2 I'm taking out. You see nice pinto bean, or kidney beans, does have the fluid in there. They're not all real tight with no fluid. Looks nice. And just to confirm that I had no siphoning, if you look at my water is almost plain clear. It would have this red broth in there if any of this had siphoned out, and the water's nice and clear. And what's amazing, I filled the water line to filled the water to the line that it suggested, and it's barely off of that line. I always thought more water would come out of it with all that steaming, but seriously, it looks like it's almost right at the line. So you don't lose a lot of water when you're pressure canning. But I'm gonna let these sit here. I've been listening to them pop for a few minutes. I think all of them have sealed. Maybe this one back here doesn't look like it's sealed yet, but I let them sit and seal overnight. And then tomorrow, I'll take the rings off, make sure they're all sealed, and I'll wash them with soap and water, get any of the water bits off of it from the hard water that might be on there. Label them and put them in for storage. So there you go. I got 16 jars of kidney beans. You can use these right out of the jar on salads. You can throw them in pasta dishes, obviously make them into chili. I find all kinds of uses for fresh beans. So give these a try. canning is really not that hard. You guys really should be putting stuff up right now. If you're not home canning your own vegetables and fruits, you can go out to the store. You can get dried beans like I did and can the beans. You can get corn. It's on sale right now at the supermarkets. It's really coming in. Get out there and just give your hand a try at canning. If you don't want to, at least buy other canned goods. Get your pantry stocked up. You guys see what's going on out there right now. You don't want to be without food. You don't want to run a little bit short. Just make sure your pantry is nice and stocked with what your family likes. And if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments, and I'll be sure to answer them for you. I'm trying to get every single one answered. But if I don't get a time to answer it, I'll at least read it and I'll give you a heart or a thumbs up to let you know that I looked at it. But if you like this video and you want to see more canning videos, give it a thumbs up so this gets shared more on YouTube. Don't forget to the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And if you hit the bell, you'll be notified as soon as I put out a new video. So from me and Mom, thanks for coming to my kitchen. Have a great day and God bless. Bye-bye.